Hey guys, April here from the Gumboot Garden. I thought today would be a really great day to chat about keeping a garden journal, especially since we sowed so many seeds last week and I need to get that sowing date recorded. There are a lot of great reasons why you should be keeping a garden journal. One of my top reasons is to track all of the progress of my seedlings and plants throughout the season. And other reasons why you may want to keep one are to help organize all of your planting guides, keep note of any problems and hopefully solutions that you've encountered throughout the season, and just to keep all of your notes in general together about what's going on in your garden. Last year, I began my first garden journal when I increased the amount of plant types that I was growing. Unfortunately, I didn't realize the benefits of keeping a journal until it was about halfway through the season. So I had to run out and grab one and backlog a lot of my notes. But this year, I am going to be more on top of it, and I'm starting my journal right at the beginning of the season and thought that you might like to do the same. So I wanted to go over all of the different sections that I keep in my journal in hopes that it would be helpful for you to set one up for yourself. First off, I've chosen a small paperback notebook that's easy to carry around, whether it be down to the garden or to the plant nursery. And I also prefer the pages to be grid marked rather than lined. And that's simply because I love organizing all of my information in charts. There's nothing better than being able to quickly jot down the information you need into a chart, or to look back and oversee a whole season's worth of information on one page. It's so much better than having to flip through a whole notebook of notes and just gather the little tidbits that you need. So besides that, I've also chosen a black notebook, and that's simply because it is muddy and messy in the garden, and I don't want my notebook to look that way as well. So that is a bit about the type of notebook I've chosen. Let's get into the good stuff that's inside. At the start of every yearly journal, you need to have a title page. And this is something that has the year on it. That way you can look back and see how your gardening skills have improved over time. I also like to include a little colorful picture, and that's just my personal preference, and it is just something that brings color and life to the journal and encourages me to keep using it. So last year I just drew a picture of some veggies, where this year, because I'm starting more of my plants from seed, I drew a nice little gardener planting their seeds there. Next, it's always important to have a planting calendar for your area that's readily available. If you're anything like me, you'll be constantly checking when the best time to plant seeds is, or what you can be adding to your fall or winter garden. So to have this at either the back or the front of your journal makes it so easy to quickly reference. I have actually stuck a couple planting guides in the back of my journal for reference, and this one even shows different symbols for when is a good time to plant in a greenhouse or outdoor undercover, or even to directly sow. And it has just about every single vegetable I could think of growing going down along the side, so this is really helpful for me. And although this is specific for my growing area in New Zealand, a quick Google search of your growing area, and I'm sure you can find something quite similar to this for yourself. Every journal needs to contain growing guides. This is a section where we put the amount of sun, water, and type of fertilizer that a plant enjoys, but also the amount of spacing it needs to grow, any pests that absolutely love it, and any other important tips we need to know to allow it to thrive in the garden. Now, I actually have a whole section on this in my journal where each plant has its own page. And I just add tips to that as I learn them. and it keeps it nice and easy and really accessible for me when I'm working out in the garden. I begin each season by drawing a garden plan, and once this plan is finalized, usually after it's all planted, I'll actually put it into my journal. So, this is really helpful to look back on in the following seasons to see what worked or didn't work, any improvements that could be made with spacing, and to see exactly how many plants of each type were planted in previous years. So my layouts have been done quite colorful in the past, again, to help draw myself in and journal a bit more. But they have also been drawn to scale. So I can see exactly how things were set up in my garden and in each individual bed as well. If you take a closer look, you can actually see these dots, and that is the exact number of plants that were planted. However, now that I continue to expand my garden space to different areas in the yard, I'll probably just take my original garden plan and stick it in here. It's all been drawn in pencil, so I can change anything that is different once it's planted and probably put some color on it as well. The growing calendar section is my favorite. This is where you list your own veggies you're growing, the date you sowed them, transplanted, and harvested them. And if you're impatient like myself, it is always nice to see when to expect a harvest, but also helps know when to succession sow and see how weather in different seasons may have affected your crops. I set mine up so that the months are along the top and the plants are along the side. Then I mark with different colors my sowing date, when seedlings sprout, weeks I'm harvesting, and finally when the plant is done for the season and pulled completely out. This year, I am also including a couple more things. I wanted to include the transplant date and also the expected harvest date according to what the seed companies say. So I have started to write that in here. I've written the dates that I sowed things or some things that I bought as seedlings, and in the blue are my expected harvest dates. And my list actually goes on for a couple pages. So I have a lot of things that I plan on growing this year, and I should have quite a big harvest, which is exciting. Oh boy. Every one of us has trouble in our garden at some point or another. And these troubles may not show up every year. So it's important that we write down exactly what happened, what caused it, what our solution was, and if our solution was successful, because it will not always be. You might also want to jot down different notes that you find along the way and different solutions to try for the next time that it does happen. I had trouble with green shield bugs one year, and at that point, I had no idea what they were, whether they were good or bad for my garden, until it became too much of a problem and I was too late. So now they have their own little section in my journal just for them. I even wrote down what they look like in two different parts of their life cycle so that I will never forget them and I can attack them straight away the next time that they try and show up and attack my crops. In your garden journal, it's a good idea to take note of all of the things you were able to preserve. Now, this not only includes the type of fruit or vegetable, but its yield, your different types of preservation methods, and the yield of those preservation methods. Now, this, along with your garden layout, will help you in the following years to decide how many of those plants that you need to plant in order to get the preservation yield that you're looking for. I do have this section in my journal, and it includes all of those things, and I'll create a new preservation chart each growing season. In my plant sales section, I have included the type of plant I sold, the platform I sold it on, and the price point. Along with that, I also included the customers' names and the amount of plants that they were looking to buy. This will help me in the future to see what plants people were interested in, the best platforms for me to sell them on, and if there's any returning customers, because it's always nice to get to know those people that are supporting you along the way. There will always be other notes to add into our garden journal that can't be put into a chart or organized neatly in a different way, but still need to be recorded. This is probably my least favorite section because I know I'm not going to refer back to these often enough, but I do still record them. I just make sure to put the date up at the top, and then I take my notes in bullet form. Sometimes I even draw pictures, like of this creepy spider that found its home in my peppers. Yuck. I know they're good. I know they're good, but it's way too quick and creepy for me. And it was actually like this size. Ugh, yuck. So those are the 9 sections I keep in my garden journal, and I hope you have found this helpful in setting up your own, and like this video if you have, but also subscribe to the Gumboot Garden for more growing tips, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.